here we go. Let's discuss here. Right on top of this, I guess put the word expand, because that's what the book will tell you to do here. Expand. When the book tells you to expand something, let me give you the example and then we'll talk about it. They will do something like this. 3 and then in parentheses A plus B. I'm going to go slowly in the hopes that most of you will catch this the first time. Just like the song that says, "You will never find me repeating gossip." So you better be sure and listen close the first time. That was hee-haw. Huh?
I've seen it before.
Okay, what this means is this. Okay, you see a 3 or a number or anything with a parenthesis next to it. What does that mean? That means this 3 gets multiplied by this whole parenthesis. Okay, and what this is, in order to do this, in order to simplify this, in order to expand this, we use what is called the distributive property. If you hear the word distributive, what does that mean? Or i.e., if I distribute papers to everyone, think about that, Danny, it is, yeah, it's mean like going, you know, I give Charlie a paper, I give Aiden a paper, I distribute it. I go from one to the other and do it out. Well, that's kind of what this means. What the distributive property says is that you multiply the thing, whatever it is, whether it's a letter or a number, outside of the parenthesis by all terms inside the parenthesis. Which will make not much sense to you until we actually do it. Okay, again, remember, this is the book calls this expanding. It is the distributive property. I'm not sure why they use that jargon. So if you see 3 and then in parentheses A plus B, we use the distributive property with this, which means I take this thing that's on the outside of the parentheses, and I am going to multiply that 3 by everything that's on the inside of the parentheses, which means I have to multiply it by the A, and then I have to go back and multiply it by the B. 3 times A, you can't really do anything with it, it just ends up being 3A. There's a plus sign here, which kind of comes down with that, and then a 3 times B is 3B. This is what you get when you expand this, 3A plus B. And the reason it works is this. Let me show you. Let's take a little side note here. If you have 2 times 3 plus 5. Okay. If you see this, you don't have to use the distributive property, right? Because you can add 3 plus 5 together. What is 3 plus 5?
8.
3 plus 5 is 8, right? And then 2 times 8 is 16. So you know the answer to that is 16. Well, look and see if we do the distributive property. Instead of doing this, what happens? I distribute this 2 out for both of these. What's 2 times 3?
6.
6 plus, what's 2 times 5?
10.
10. And 6 plus 10 is 16. It works either way you do it. The difference is, in this case, you can't add those together, so your only option is to do the distributive property to get them to go away. Okay? Now, let's look at a couple more examples of that. What if I have, and you could have any amount of things in the parentheses. How about this? What if I had 6 times in parentheses A plus B plus 3? The only way to do anything with this is to expand or use the distributive property. And this is what it would look like. I would take the 6 times the A. 6 times A is, you can't really do anything with it, but just put them next to each other, 6A. Take the plus sign. What's 6 times B? 6B. Take the plus sign. And what's 6 times 3?
18.
18. You can get rid of the parentheses and simplify it by getting 6A plus 6B plus 18. Distributive property. What about this? How about A times B plus 2? If I said to use the distributive property there, or to expand, as the book would say it, I take the thing that's outside of the parenthesis and multiply it by everything inside the parenthesis. What is A times B?
AB.
Just AB. What is A times 2?
A2.
But you always put the number in front. It's 2A. Okay, we always put the number in front, just the way it works. Okay. How about this one? Let's do a minus sign. What if I have 2 times 3 minus C plus D? What would you get if I told you to expand that using the distributive property? What would you get if you were to expand that? Ronnie?
You get
First of all, you do 2 times 3, which is?
6
Then you take the minus sign this time. What's 2 times C?
is 2C,
Yep, and then you take the plus sign, and what's 2 times D?
2D.
2D. And that, ladies and gentlemen, would be your answer. How many people think that that's something they can handle? How's your head? Okay.
Yeah, very close then, for a while.
You got thought pretty hard, huh?
Yeah.
Do you see stars? Moons? Suns?
The moon was out.
Donuts? What?
The moon was out.
Let's see, that's probably didn't notice because you haven't thought. Now, question?
No.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're only halfway through what we need to do. Because not only do we have to be able to expand, you need to take out a blank piece of paper again. Because you also have to learn how to do the reverse of this. Yeah, let's just throw people for a big review. The reverse of this is called factoring, or to factor. And it is doing the distributive property in reverse. And maybe I should let me take an example that we did. Yeah, 3A plus 3B. 3A plus 3B. Every now and then in math, it helps us to factor things, which is what we're doing today because it just helps to cross off things and make them simpler. Factoring is the reverse of the distributive property, okay? Which means I am starting with the answer that I got before and bringing it back to something outside of a parenthesis times the things inside the parenthesis. So in order to do that, here is your thought process. You need to look at all terms. Look at all terms and figure out what you can divide them all by. Or what common factor they have. We'll talk about that in just a second. Let you write that down and then you shall talk. Okay, that means this. If you are told to factor this, and that's what the directions will say, factor. You look at, this has two terms in it, the thing separated by the addition sign. You look at both of those things and you say, what do they have in common that I can break out or take out or divide out? And in this case, it's obvious they both have a 3. So if they do that, you take that common factor they have and put it down, and then you put a parenthesis because we're going backwards from that whole distributive property thing. You remove that 3 or divide the 3 out of this, you're left with an A. You take the 3 out of this one, you're left with a B. This is the reverse distributive property, and this is that thing factored out. Now let me give you the same one, except change it just a little bit. What if it was 3A plus 9B? And I asked you to factor that. Okay. You can still take a 3 out. I can't take a 9 out because I can't take a 9 out of a 3, but I can take a 3 out of both of them. How would that change what's left in the parentheses? Well, if I take a 3 out of this, I'm still left with an A. If I divide 9 by 3, what's left?
3.
A 3 and a B. Because you have to remember that when you go backwards and do this all distributive property again, you have to get what you started with. 3 times A is 3A, 3 times 3B is 9B. Now let's look at one that the book gives us and see if we can do this. How about 6x plus 9 is one that they give us. 6x plus 9. And again, the directions will say to factor that. If you look at that, what can you take out of a 6x and a 9? First of all, if they don't all both have the same letters, you can't take a letter out. You can only take numbers out. You know, if this would have had an x in there, I could have taken an x out of both, but I can't, so I don't. What can you take out of 6x, 6 and a 9, Liv? 3 again. If I take that 3 out, keep my plus sign, what do I get for the first term? Remember, this is division, not subtracting. 6x divided by 3 is, Charlie?
3.
Nope.
2.
2x. You keep the x. And 9 divided by 3 is? 3. That would be your answer of the factored out sort of thing. How about this one? 8w minus 10. What would you get if you factored that out? 8w minus 10. What can I take out of both 8 and 10, Ellie? A 2. And that's what I put down, and then I write down my parenthesis. By the way, if it has a minus sign here, it's going to have a minus sign there. What am I left with? If I take a 2 out of 8w, 8? 4w. If I take a 2 out of 10?
5.
No w, just a 5. There's no w over there, so it's just a 5. Wow, I am emotionally drained. Very good with that. Because unfortunately, that's not the end. We've not done order of operations yet today, at this year. No? Okay, that's a no. Did we? Alright, blank piece of paper, because this comes up in this section as well. Order of operations. Because order matters, and you can see that big old poster over there in case you ever forget. We used a little acronym that is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Those letters all represent something. This is when given the choice, you have to do math in this order. You must do math in this order. And the reason for that is this. Let me give you an example. If I have 10 minus 2 plus 6. If I gave you this thing here, if we did not have the order of operations, and you could just do this willy-nilly, you can get two different answers for this. You know, the one first people look at, you go, well, 2 plus 6 is 8, 10 minus 8 is 2. But if you didn't do that first, and you did 10 minus 2 first and got 8, then 8 plus 6 is 14. So you're going to get two different answers unless you follow the order of operations, and that's why somebody set all that down. So the order you go are in this. The first one is P for parentheses, which really should be called grouping symbols. E is for exponents or powers or roots. M and D are multiplication and division, and it must be from left to right. Multiplication and division really fall on the same level in the order of operations, but when you give it a choice there, you have to work from left, like you read the problem, left to right. And then this is addition and subtraction, and it is also from left to right. So which of these answers was correct over here? Well, this is addition and subtraction. They fall on the same level, so you have to go from left to right. I need to go 10 minus 2 first and get 8, and then get 8 plus 6 and get 14. The answer should have been 14, not 2. You can't do this first and then that. It's left right. Now, how does an actual problem work? They give you some toughies, so my strong encouragement to you, ladies and gentlemen, is please take your time and go slowly and write them out. So write down this example. 20 minus 2 times 3 squared plus 7 plus 8 in parentheses divided by 5. We are using PEMDAS. So the first thing we have to do is parentheses. Is there a parenthesis there?
Yes.
Yes. 7 plus 8 is
17.
15, I hope. Okay. And I make a habit of rewriting this. You don't because you're lazy. Plus 15 divided by 5. Step number 1 is complete. Step number 2 is exponents. Are there some exponents? Yes. This one right here, which is 3 squared is 9. So 20 minus 2 times 9 plus 15 divided by 5. That was my exponents. Now, is there multiplication and division? Yes. I have a choice. I got 2 times 9, I have 15 divided by 5. You need to work them from left to right. So the first thing you're going to do is 2 times 9. So it's 20 minus 18, and I can go ahead and do 15 divided by 5, which is 3. And then we get to the last, which is addition subtraction from left to right. So I have to start here. They're on the same level. 20 minus 18 is 2, and 2 plus 3 is 5. And I can tell you, some of you will try to skip steps and do a whole bunch of stuff all at once, and it will hurt you in the end. In the end, I should see this nice tornadic looking little shape there to get you down to the end of this thing there. You really want to take your time. Okay, so here we go. Let me give you one to see if you can do it. A tough one, if you will. One more. 10 minus. And the difference with this one is it's a grouping symbol inside a grouping symbol, so we have to be a little careful with this. 10 minus 8 minus bracket. 6 minus parentheses 3. So in this case, you've got grouping symbols inside of grouping symbols. You just have to start and go all the way to the middle first.
Oh, yeah.
So which means this, ladies and gents. Okay, you've got this grouping symbol, so you have to follow the order of operations inside that grouping symbol. And inside that grouping symbol, you have another set of grouping symbols, which is this. And inside that grouping symbol, you have another set of grouping symbols, so you have to do this actually has to be done first, because it's the furthest most inside grouping symbol. 5 minus 3 is 2. So I am left with this. And then still working inside this outside grouping symbol, you have to do that grouping symbol, which is 6 minus 2 is 4. And then this grouping symbol, 8 minus 4 is 4. And then 10 minus 4 is 6. And then just a couple more examples. Write down these 3 because they will come back to haunt you. Absolute value of 2 minus 7. The square root of 9 plus 16. And 12 times 12 over 3 plus 3. God bless you. Some things we don't see but are actually grouping symbols. Absolute value signs are grouping symbols. Square root signs are grouping symbols, and fraction lines are grouping symbols. And that means this. This is what you don't do. You don't make this positive 7 and say 7 plus 2 is 9. Okay, you have to simplify inside of this first before you do the absolute value sign. What is 2 minus 7? Liv? Negative 5. And then once you simplify that, then you take its absolute value, which is positive 5. That's a grouping symbol. Same thing here. You don't take the square root of 9 and then take the square root of 16 and add them together. You add 9 plus 16 together first, and then you take the square root of 25, which is 5. Same thing here. I don't do 12 divided by 3 and 12 divided by 3 or whatever that is. I simplify this top part first. 12 times 12 is 144, and 3 plus 3 is 6. Then you do the division. 6 goes into 144 24 times. Be careful with those, because those things do come up. Everybody loves you.